the strategy that allows your goals to drop into a framework that doesn't freak you out. If you learn how to step yourself towards something, the brain can digest the step and it doesn't feel so overwhelming. Okay, welcome back everyone to day 3 of the MOXIE Pop-Up Podcast. It's so great to have you here with me. If you have been watching days 1 and 2, do me a favor and in the comment section below, drop me a 1 and a 2. A 12, I guess. Drop me anything. Just tell me you've been here and what your biggest takeaways have been. And I hope you guys are really enjoying this. If this is your first time here, you drop it in at day 3. All good. Just put a 3 in the chat and let me celebrate you and welcome you into this space. You guys are amazing. I love you so much. And I am just a big shout out to all of you watching this. Yesterday I spoke to that glue, the glue of motivation that is going to bind you with your ideal goal set and identity. Who's going to achieve that goal set? We discovered that it's the ordinary things that you guys already know about health and wellness and embodiment and taking care of that. But we really dropped it into the actual system so you can see how it's so strategic and important that you leverage that glue to keep yourself moving forward and to really avoid the pockets of procrastination, hesitation, second guessing yourself, etc. We also talked about neuroplasticity. We got into the science of the mind a little bit, and we looked at the 2 characteristics that need to be present all of the time when it comes to feeding the other neurons in your brain, the neurons that are related to the new personality, the new mindset, the new way of being, the new identity of a winner, right? Like that is an actual strategic thing you can follow. Am I paying attention enough times throughout the day, throughout the week to my goals and my dreams? The frequency has to be high, right? Like we got to hit it every day, multiple times a day. Think about it, visualize it, focus on what you are doing. And 2, the other way to shift into the new neurons and to favor the neuron track, the neuron synapses that are about your new identity is to increase the emotion around those thoughts or the intensity of the thought and the intensity of the focus. So if you missed day 2, go back. You're definitely going to want to listen to that. That's really important. But today we're going to talk about time mastery. Ooh, yes, this is like my forte. Oh, hold on. I just realized to really get this podcast going today. Hold on. Something just fell off. Here we go. Have you tried this yet? I'm not sponsored. It's limoncello flavored, sparkling water, LaCroix. Now that I've just told the world, it's going to sell out every place. It's so hard to get these when they come in Aldi's, at Aldi's on like Tuesdays. Everyone goes and gets it. So we buy like 3 or 4 cases at a time just to have it stocked up because it's so good. I have a secret stash that my friend tipped me off on. So I'm not going to be revealing that here because there is another retailer. I'm not revealing my sources. I won't do it. You can't make me. Today we're going to be talking all about time mastery and how that relates to being an action taker and being someone who's in the preparation stages, who's working on developing themselves to be at the start line, to then actually cash the chips and do the work, okay? Remember, quick recap, when the idea drops in, oftentimes we're like, let's go, and we're off running. But what we've neglected to do is stop and collect all the skills and the tools that we're going to need to actually go the journey, go the distance, and then complete the damn thing. This is why most people do not complete their goals, or they start off so great and then they stop because they just don't have the moxie. They just don't have the determination. They didn't build it up yet. They haven't fully identified yet as someone who can win the race, as someone who can go the distance. Because it's like once you get going, it's crazy out there. Like once you're actually in your role that you're designed to be for whatever season of life you're in, it doesn't mean all your difficulties go away. It doesn't mean all your troubles go away. If anything, because you're in your soul's destined calling, design, dharma, path, it's almost like life goes, well, now let's clear all of this shit out of the way. And the only way you can really clear your shit is to deal with your shit. And so in some ways, you end up working through some of the biggest, smelliest, toughest, grossest, hard shit. I mean, I'm not going to get into it here, but maybe at another time. 2023 has been crazy. I'll mention Arnold Schwarzenegger in a minute, but he is someone that pops to mind with me because I just watched Arnold, the documentary. Don't watch it if you're thinking of joining MOXIE 1.0. Don't watch it yet, because we're actually going to watch pieces of it, bits of it, inside of MOXIE, the course 1.0. So he's actually going to be one of the case studies. We're also going to look at Dr. Dre and probably maybe even Eminem a little bit, because these are all real life examples of people who walk the walk and talk the talk. And they have MOXIE, they have decided who they are, they have dedication, and there's no going back. So I think we just need to explore those avenues a little bit more. And we're going to do that inside of MOXIE 1.0. We're going to see real life examples. We're going to study them and learn from them, and then apply what we hear and what we see and what we learn and what we feel by studying their lives into our own lives. I want to introduce a term to you that I think beautifies, sexifies, if that's even a word, it's not probably, that brings a little bit more like, to really the macro season of development. But this is the term that really is about the development, but the more sexy edge that you're going to start to feel. When we decided, and we flipped that switch, we're like, I'm going to be an author. I'm going to be a famous chef. And we start to work through it and get excited. There's so much momentum there and in the excitement. And that's the honeymoon stage. And then that eventually wears off, and you're left with the actual brute reality that you have to transform. And that's a lot of work. But I do want to offer you a breadcrumb trail here of hope that it does get better. It does get better. And it gets better, actually, sort of ironically, the closer you get to the start line, the closer you get to fully embodying the identity of who it is you need to be to run the race, to actually see it through to the finish line. Remember, the start line is the goal, not the finish line. Screw that. We all will finish eventually, okay? But we have to get you into the mindset and the MOXIE mode of actually getting to the start line. That is the peak of the mountain. That is where the race really begins. And the moments just before that, it's what I refer to as the MOXIE mode. It's suddenly a little more fun. You notice that you're desiring to dress a little differently, talk a little differently. You notice that your group of friends shifts a little bit, and people that were weird to you before, or you totally didn't really vibe with them, you're suddenly knowing their first names. Like if you're into athleticism, you want to be an athlete and you're working out at the gym at first, you guys all know this. When you start to work out, you're like the meatheads that are grunting and throwing their weights down and walking around with a gallon of water everywhere. What the hell is up with them? Like, it's the weirdest thing, right? Until you start to develop yourself in that world. And then all of a sudden, there's a moment where you know their names and they're spotting you on the squat rack. How did we get here? I like these people, I guess. Oh, I'm starting to identify with them. I'm starting to change. I'm becoming more and more like them. Really? That's interesting. And you start to buy all the clothing. You start to shop online for your workout gear because you realize there's special workout clothing now. You start to buy a little bit more Gymshark maybe. And you just kind of wake up to it in the MOXIE mode and you're like, man, this is cool. The other thing that starts to happen is you start to want to talk again about your experiences. And here is the beautiful thing. And this is why community is so important. And this is why joining a course like MOXIE 1.0 is going to be so critical, because you're going to have the support of community, which is so important. And the closer you get to fully merging with your new identity, the closer you get to start line, is actually a very fragile time because it's like we start open at the beginning of the honeymoon, and then the honeymoon phase ends and it becomes work, and we kind of get narrow again, and we kind of collapse in on ourselves in a sense, and it becomes all about the work. And people are like, where did you go? And you can get a little isolated feeling, and it can kind of feel like you're in a free fall. It can kind of feel like you've lost your way, but you just keep going because you flipped that switch. You've decided. And then it widens a little bit. You've kind of come through the other side. Community is everything, because in those moments where it starts to widen and you pick your head up and you can start to feel the transformation and you're really happy with the results, you're starting to see results. You're starting to feel more positive. You're complaining less. There's a little bit more flow. You're like, oh my God, I'm getting all this down. What was such hard work before is starting to feel ordinary. And that's when you know you've entered the MOXIE mode, and you want a group of people at this moment to celebrate with you. That's what community really does for you. It helps to celebrate who you are and how far you've come. And if you are not celebrating with the right people, meaning those outside of this type of work you're doing, they might think you're a weirdo. And this is where it gets really important that you are guarding your greatness. That's my little term for this type of stage, this type of work where you're expanding. You don't need to tell everyone everything, okay? You're excited. I know you've got this shiny new toy. You're feeling incredible. You're starting to see results. If you're working out at the gym, you're like, oh, damn, right? But like, not everyone's into it, and that's okay. So having a community of like-minded people that you can express your joys to, and they can celebrate it with you. They can witness you in that. They can offer feedback if you ask for it, and you can ask them questions, etc., is so critical for helping you move quickly to the finish line. Because just as much as you're opening up here and it's starting to feel more comfortable, it's still a very sensitive place because you haven't fully formed the identification. We don't have all the synapses, in a sense, connected yet to really make you all in. There's still some tendrils. We're still competing with the old network of neurons. It's still related to the old person that might not be legit, right? We still have some sense of imposter syndrome could jump in any moment if I tell the wrong person and they look at me weird, or they're like, what are you doing? As you're in the MOXIE mode, this is also a time to really sit back and recognize you've gone the distance. And what seemed like an impossible task is now almost a full reality. You can taste the victory at this point. Things start to feel incredibly obtainable. What could you do with that in your life right now? The feeling of this is obtainable. My goals are obtainable. I think most of the time we don't even start towards our dreams and our goals because they feel so big. They feel larger than us. And they are to some degree, but the first step is to embody it, to know that it is a part of you. You are the vessel that gets to move it out into the world. And so it's not larger than you in that you can't hold it. It's larger than you as in it gets to hold you, to quote VW again. It gets to hold you. And this is really beautiful because it actually asks us to surrender once again into the current, into the flow, into the fire that wants to shape you into what you're here to become. So the MOXIE mode is sort of the light at the end of the tunnel. It's the silver lining. It's the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow where we're like, okay, this is working. Okay, I can see results. Oh my God, this is so much fun. Oh my gosh. And this builds more and more momentum. This is where time management comes in even more critical. Now, in MOXIE, I'm going to teach you all about time management, and I've got a special system for you. I'm going to talk a little bit more about it tomorrow in the last podcast, but we're going to go deep into it and break it down. And I'm not going to just give you my way of doing it. I'm going to make you work for it a little bit, in that I want you to play and experiment. So I'm going to slide a couple scheduling blueprints your way, and you're going to get to feel into what do I really like. And a lot of you probably already have time management systems at work, but we're going to look at ways to level it up and give it some steroids, basically. Just get that baby humming for you, okay? And there's a couple other aspects and pieces of technology that I use that have really helped me catapult into a deeper respect for time management, not just a deeper understanding or the outcome is changed. I'm faster and more efficient, sure, but I have a deeper respect now and a deeper love, really, for the system of managing my time, bending time, creating time, really. And this is important for someone who wants to crush goals consistently. Someone who's ready to be ushered from here, where I don't know what the hell I'm doing in my life. This isn't me anymore. Where did I go? To this side of, oh my gosh, this is me. And this is me 2.0. I've got all these hard skills such as time management and all of this glue such as embodiment strategy that is really helping me express her even more into the world. That's what's waiting for you. And that is going to be an incredible, incredible life. Just let that vision drop in of, I know who I am. I've reclaimed her. It feels so good to be me. My life has meaning again. And I'm no longer afraid of myself taking action in the world. I'm no longer afraid of that at all because I've neutralized it. I've spent time practicing the development. I have a system in place to manage my time and prioritize my time so I know what to work on when. This is the strategy that allows your goals to drop into a framework that doesn't freak you out. If you learn how to step yourself towards something, the brain can digest the step. And it doesn't feel so overwhelming. That is what needs to happen first before you actually start day one on your project. There is pre-work that needs to be done. There's discipline that needs to drop in. There is a plan, a strategy that needs to drop in. This is basic project management 101. Time management is a huge part of that, and I'm going to make it sexy for you. I'm going to make it a lot of fun. So I want to give you four incredible tips on the best ways to become a time ninja and to manage your time. But before I get into tip one, I want you to understand here that you are time. What do I mean by that? You are the creator of time. Time is whatever you say it is. If in this moment you're bored out of your noggin, then time's going to seem like it's dragging. But if you are on the edge of your seat, like, I love this content, Kim, give me more, this is going to blow by, right? If this turns into an hour-long episode, which it won't, it's going to feel like 5 minutes. And you all have had these experiences before. If you're sitting at a bar and you're talking to a really attractive person, 2 hours goes by, but you're like, oh my God, it's only felt like 10 minutes. On the other hand, if you're waiting in line at the DMV or you're getting your taxes done and you're just like, oh, I'm doing your taxes and you don't even want to do your taxes or whatever the horrible thing is that you don't want to be doing, it might only take 15 minutes, but it's felt like 2 hours. What's going on there? Well, Einstein had this theory called the theory of relativity, which is exactly that. It's the same time, but it just depends on your disposition in that moment. Are you enjoying life in that moment, or are you hating life in that moment? Are you feeling abundant and open, or are you feeling scarcity and constriction? Those things, you, my friend, affect how time is experienced. So if you want more time, you have to become more. If you want time to feel easy and enjoyable, you have to find ways to be more easy and enjoyable with yourself. It's that straightforward. Is it simple? No, but through a series of changing your behavior, changing your identity, changing your habits, you can be in a better and more healthy and truer relationship with time. So now that that's out of the way, okay, let's get into 4 major points here that are going to rock your shit when it comes to time. So first tip, remember this little rhyme, okay? The first 2 are for you. The first 2 are for you. What do I mean? The first 2 hours of your day should be 100% lockdown dedicated for you and no one else. Yes, even if you have kids. I don't have kids, so don't come at me with like, well, you can't tell me. I do have a lot of responsibilities though, especially when I was running a brick and mortar yoga studio and doing this at the same time, especially before that when I had a full-time job and I was doing this on the side. Like, I know what it's like to have multiple responsibilities. I don't know what it's like to have kids, but I can tell you right now that I have coached women who are moms. They do it all the time. They decide to get up earlier. I know, right? Mind-blowing concept. You could do it. I promise you. Once you start looking at your time and divvy it up with the first 2 hours of every day for you, what instantly starts to decrease in your life is, and please listen to this, resentment. How many of you right now are sitting there with resentment? This isn't getting done because of you. I can't get to what I love because of you, the kids, or I can't ever take time for me because of the husband, or whatever it is, taking care of the elderly parents or your job. We all have these excuses as to why we're not getting to us. That stops today, and you need to take responsibility for your life. That means, in some cases, getting up earlier. It won't kill you. It's only going to make you happier and healthier. Trust me. Get up earlier, and the first 2 hours of your day are for you. First 2 for you. Got it? That means you do not do anything for anyone else. I want you to be super selfish. I want you to celebrate the shit out of yourself. I want you to do everything that you want to do in those first 2 hours. Things like, yes, eat and bathe, but also meditate, visualize, journal. Do the glue things, right? We talked about glue on day 2, right? Glue on 2, I think. We need to be in relationship with ourselves in those first 2 hours of the day. Focus. Double down on who we are. Remember who we are. Remember why we're doing this. Be in the season of development. And of course, have fun, exercise, move your body, do the things that light you up, that make you so delicious. That is what those first 2 hours are for. Then the rest of the day can be about whomever it needs to be about. And you'll go throughout the day not only less resentful because you've got your stuff done, but you will also feel like, I got my stuff done. I did me already. Now I'm more available for you. This is where you start becoming super wife. This is where you start becoming super spouse. This is where you start becoming super mom. And people are like, did you go on vacation? Something's different about you. Did you do something with your hair? And you're like, no, I'm just taking care of myself, bitch. Like, that's really what it's about. People will start being like, what's different about you? Or I just want to say, those start telling you things like, you're just so wonderful to be around. You're just so beautiful. I love you. I love you so much. And you're like, you know why? Because I've been starting to love me more. The world reflects back to you, not how the world is, but how you are. You only ever see people and things in the world as you are. Same goes for time. You see time as you are. If time feels like it's not enough, it's because you feel like you're not enough. If time feels abundant, it's because you feel abundant. Mic drop. Like, that's it. That's how it rolls, okay? So when you are taking care of yourself in the morning and you do the first 2 for you and you get to everyone else the rest of the day, you're going to be more present for them. You're going to be more available. They're going to be loving your energy more, and you're not going to have resentment. Right there. Make it happen. Get up earlier. And then if you're like, I don't know, like, I want you to just think about what you are neglecting to get to by sleeping in or getting up at your normal time. For me, it was finally realizing that I am actually checking this imaginary box every single time I'm sleeping in or getting up at my normal time, which was like 7. I was checking this imaginary box that said, I, Kim Fisher, agree to defer on my dreams and my goals one more day. And that woke me up to where I was like, I am like kind of disgusted by my behavior. And I got like mad. I was like, no more. I'm not deferring shit anymore. No wonder I feel behind. No wonder I have FOMO. No wonder I have resentment. I'm not doing me, and I'm making my job and my responsibility My responsibilities is the reason, my excuse that I'm not getting to me. So this is where we really have to call in our higher self. We really have to look ourselves square in the face and look at where we're making excuses for ourselves and blaming other people and taking that radical responsibility. And it's such an empowerment move. It's such a bold, beautiful move. When you do that, you know, right up till that point, you might feel a lot of guilt and like, oh, anger, like, no, like it's really them, Kim. It's really them eating up my time. That might be a boundary thing. But listen, you'll be better equipped to take care of that boundary thing once you have energy. And you might even have a different angle and a better angle and a way to approach it. And when you have higher energy, you'll have higher love too. So how great would it be if someone truly is eating up a lot of your time, if someone truly is needy, to address it with love rather than from a low energy state and reactionary? That's not really going to be helpful. So even in that case, if it's not a true excuse, you can't call bullshit. You really have to take care of this. Think of how better of a caregiver, how better the conversation's going to go, how more of a solution mind you're going to have because you took care of yourself earlier in the day. So make it fun when you get up earlier. Put in your headphones, jam out to some great music, do whatever crazy shit you want to do, ice baths or whatever crazy stuff you want to do. I don't care, but like it's really about deciding. There's that word again. Decide you're going to do it. Decide you're done deferring. And make that change. Point number 2 with time management wizardry skills is after you've done your first 2 for you, then I want you to prioritize the rest of the to-do list items. And what I do is I use a scaling system. I use stars to rate the urgency of my to-do list items. So if something is really urgent, it's going to get a star of 1. If something is less urgent, 2, lesser urgent, 3, all the way down to 5. So something that has 5 stars is low on the scale and is less urgent. 5 stars, it seems a little counterintuitive. You can flip it if you want. 5 is like the most urgent, but I actually feel like 5 is like really good. Like if you're getting 5 stars, it's really good. And the reason I like that is because, and I'll get to the next point and it'll make more sense. 5 is really good. So just hold that. 1 is like not great. I got to get to that because if that doesn't get done, that's not great. So 1 is like, it's number 1, put it at the top of your list. But also 1 is just like, if I don't get to this, it's going to fall to a 0 and it's going to fall off the face of the earth. This is so urgent. I must get to this. This is my soul is tethered to this task. 1, get it done, right? So once you've metriced everything or measured everything with your stars, then I want you to put them in order. So anything that got a 1 star is going to go towards the top of your list, meaning earlier in the day, and then everything else follows suit. Okay? And then you start taking action on that number 1 star or the second number 1. You can have more than 1 in each category. That's fine, but try not to pack too many 1s into your day. Do a couple of 1s, a couple of 2s, and a couple of 3s. Ideally, there's just 1 of each, and then you move things down to the next day. Depending on the task, you'll know what to do. Okay? So prioritize. Then go to your calendar and literally put it in. What gets measured gets managed, and what gets managed gets done. If you are in any of my courses, especially the Rise membership, if you've done the mastermind with me, you are like, Kim, you say that phrase too much, but you guys all love it. I know you do because you've seen the power of it. If it goes on your calendar, it is important to you. I don't care if it's a dentist appointment or oil change or you're getting a massage or you're calling that person back about getting on the podcast. It is important that you schedule the things that matter to you, including your first 2 for you. The number 1 rule I gave you, schedule those in your calendar. Don't just put 2 hours me time. I want you to actually get specific. Specificity really matters, and then time block it inside of your calendar. Okay. Tip 3 when it comes to time wizardry is delegate. Listen to me. You do not need to do everything on your to-do list. You don't. I know you think you do. I do too. I struggle with this every day. But I have learned that when Brandon comes home, if he's like, I'll mow the lawn, or do you want me to go get dinner? Or do you want me to? I typically would want to say, I got it. But I've learned that if I accept his help, we have a more balanced relationship where I'm receiving and I give, but also that allows me to work on something that maybe is higher priority, like that has 3 stars. Because quite honestly, sometimes the day just rolls on like past 2:00 and suddenly there's some rando things that have come onto your schedule and you're like, I had to put out some fires over here, or the kids got sick and had to come home from school early, or grandma called, or whatever it is, and you can get derailed. So this is where it's really important that you prioritize your day, give it that rating system of the stars. And then what I want you to do is look at your 5s. Whatever is a 5, who can you prioritize that to? Especially those of you that have kids. Teach them chores, please. Like I always had to mow the lawn. I always had to unpack and load the dishwasher, and I hated that stuff. There's a lot of research that shows that kids that do chores are actually really happy adults, by the way. I can't cite it right now, but I just saw that headline the other day. Look it up. So where can you delegate your number 5 tasks? So those little crazy kids, and give them something to do so that you can stay focused or just have free time. That's a concept, right? Also, anything that's a 4-star on your list is probably a good idea to delegate to. And here's another thing. If you're still like, I don't have anyone to delegate, you got to ask yourself, why is it on your list? What needle is this going to move? Is this even something you have to do? It might be something old you had to do, but remember, this is all in the spirit of bringing you closer and closer into the MOXIE mode, closer and closer to the start line, closer and closer to that identity. So why are you doing it if that's the old you? If it actually pulls you away from who you're becoming, it might be time to get the scissors out and just energetically cut that shit out of your life. So look for that. Also, delegate. And honestly, if you need to, if you must get it done, then you're probably not rating it correctly. It's probably higher in priority, in which case you should be doing it earlier in the day. The next point I want to make about delegation is this. If you have some resistance to delegation, I want to tell you that really straightforward. If you don't need help with your dreams and your goals, you're not dreaming big enough. You should have dreams and goals that require help. You should have dreams and goals that are bigger than you and therefore require community. They require the help of your neighbors. Hey, neighbor, can you let the dog out from 3 to 4? Here's the key. Thanks so much. I'm taking this night class at the community college. It's going to help me better myself and get my accounting degree so that I can make some money. I'm making some changes. I really appreciate it. Hey, what's your favorite beverage? I'll pick it up for you. Would you mind? What can I do for you in exchange? Get help with your dreams and your goals. Delegate it out. Okay. And finally, number 4 is really simple, but it's a very important one. Find a system that works for you. I have experimented with everything. And over the past 2 years, really, I've taken on the relationship of time management more seriously and more playfully. And I've done everything from really high-end calendars that were great, but just for a time period. And I'm now fully digital. So not knocking paper stuff. If you are a hard copy person and you prefer to actually work in a tangible written format, go for it. The point I'm trying to make here is don't just do any system that I'm suggesting, especially if you join MOXIE. I'm going to teach you that. I'm going to show you how I do it, and it might work for you. But I'm also going to give you other suggestions that have worked for other people too, so that you can cherry pick and make a cool combination like a Rubik's Cube and figure out what works for you, because we all have really interesting individual brains and not one system is going to work for all. But that can't be the reason that you don't play and experiment, because you have to have a system. If you don't have a way to manage your day, everyone else is going to manage it for you. And that should make you worried, because probably up until this moment, that's kind of how things have been going. All good. It's time just to recognize it, and we're going to make some changes. So play, experiment. I have a system where I actually use, I have a soul sprint, which is a 2-week time frame that I use for larger projects. So, and I'm going to be teaching that specifically. It's never been taught before ever, and no one knows how to do this. It's a brand new system. I birthed it about a year ago. It came from my 2 years inside of the tech field. I pulled out what they use for project management, which is a 2-week sprint cycle. And I was like, why can't we use this for our dreams and goals for the people that aren't in the tech world? And it works phenomenally. If you were in the Rise Mastermind or in one-on-one with me, you know what the soul sprint is. So I use the soul sprint for larger projects, but then I use an app called notion.so, and I specifically use that in a very detailed way by yearly goals, quarterly goals, and then by month, and then by day. I go deep. It's kind of detailed, but I need that level of specificity. So again, my brain can drop right into where are we at? What are we doing? I'm not swimming with someone else's current. I'm creating my own lane. I'm creating my own current, which is such an empowering feeling. Then I will take what needs to be done in Notion and I time block it in my Google Calendar. So there's 3 layers that I work through to then figure out what should Kim be doing today. And in my Google Calendar is a mix of personal things or internal goals and then external goals that have to deal with other people, stuff for my business, stuff for other people, stuff for household stuff. I have a blend. I don't exclude anything from my calendar. And that's another thing is stop segregating from your calendar. Make sure everything you need to do is time blocked. That's really important. So I'm going to be teaching you guys inside of MOXIE 1.0 the actual strategy you're going to be looking. I'm going to show you my screen, walk you through my technology, actually have you try it and develop your own system as well. But above all, that last point, the 4th point I'm making here is experiment and play. And remember that you don't need to do it any way that's been done before, but you do need to find your way and be willing for it to look a little kooky and be willing to have multiple things humming at first. Remember, you're also deciding in this moment. And once you decide, you go right into the season of development, right? And so here is even a micro example of that, where your goal now is to become a time wizard, a time ninja. And so there's a moment where you're not, and then there's a moment where you are. And in between, you just have to let the system develop you. So this is a micro example of everything we're going to be learning inside of MOXIE, which is how do you actually let the curiosity for how do I want to work with time, since time is you. Really, like this is blowing my mind kind of right now. This is dropped in. Because time is you and time gets created from you, when you learn how to work with time on that level, you're really learning more about yourself. And what more beautiful strategy in life is that, to actually let the calendar and let the system be shown to you through all the different tools and all the different ways you could possibly see time and compartmentalize it. Let it, your own system, come through. If it works, it works. Don't knock it, just go with it. All right. So tomorrow is our last day, and we're going to be talking all about how to avoid the traps. What are the traps that come up inside of the season of development, inside of that tumultuous moment of work before we get to the MOXIE mode and before we get to the full identity of who we are? What are the traps? How do we work through them? And what is ego death, and how does that really play into the role you're becoming? And I'm also going to be talking a little bit more about MOXIE 1.0, what you can expect in that delicious course that's coming up soon. Have a great day, you guys. Thanks again for being here. I appreciate it so much, and see you tomorrow.